Now, process control block. Process control block means what are the different informations are associated with a particular process. Okay, whenever we are having a process, why we are calling it a process, uh, you can say the different parts of a process, information associated with each process is called as process control block. It is also called as task control block. It will be like this. It is a process. In a process, one field is mentioning the process state, another is process number. Process state means earlier we have discussed 5 states. Which particular state this process belongs to, then process number. There will be so many processes at a time in the system. So every process will be determined with the help of a particular number. Process 0, process 1, process 2, process 3, and so on. Then the program counter. Program counter means uh, the address of the next instruction to be executed. Suppose in your process there are so many instructions, so many lines of code you have written, then which particular instruction is going to be executed next is to be held by the program counter. Then some registers, it will be using some registers, so it will be using some own registers. Then the memory limits. Memory limits is a concept like, suppose this is your RAM and you have given this process this particular space. This particular space you are giving to this process. Then memory limit means the lower address and the upper address line for this particular process. Like you can use memory location 248 till 962, let's say. So this is your memory limits. You can start from this memory, you can end with this memory. You cannot exceed your memory content beyond this. This is your memory limits. Then the list of open files, it should be having the information of all other files running parallelly in the system. So these are the uh, parts of the process. The you can say information associated with every process. Then they're defining like this. Process state means running, waiting, or etc. Program counter means location of instruction to next execute. CPU registers means contains all the process centric registers. There will be so many registers inside your processor. Some registers will be uniquely defining by this particular process. CPU scheduling information, priorities, scheduling queue, pointers. There are so many things associated with this process. Now, that may include scheduling information, memory management information, memory allocation to the process, some accounting information, CPU used, clock time elapsed since start time, time limits, how much it has executed, how much is remaining, what are the different kinds of resources it will use in future. That is the information, that is accounting information. IO status information, that means IO devices are located to process or list of open files. What are the different IO units that you are going to provide to that particular process? The process state is a very big thing. Your program is a normal, a passive quantity. Unlike process, it is defining so many things inside the process. Now threads. Threads means It's a part of the process. Thread means it's a part of the process. So you can divide your single process into multiple threads. In your process, suppose you are using a for loop. In your for loop, some instruction is running 100 times. Then you can say that this for loop, entire for loop will be known as a thread. It will be a thread. So you are dividing your process in different threads. So far, processes have a single thread of execution. Consider having multiple program counters per process. Multiple locations can execute at once. Multiple threads of control, that is threads. A program can be executed parallelly. Suppose you have written a code. There are so many lines inside this code. This particular part of code is one thread. This particular part of code is second thread. Similarly, you have divided your code in several threads. Now these threads, if these are independent, they are not requiring any kind of information from the previous one or the next one. So they can be executed parallelly. I'm executing this. I'm also executing this. I'm also executing this and this one. Then I will be recollecting all the results and combining them all together. It will be faster my process speed. More More than have storage for storage deals, multiple program counters in PCB. Multiple program counters will be there for every thread. Here we are also having one thread program counter that will be holding the address of next instruction. Here also we will be having a program counter that will be holding the address of next instruction in this block. Now this is a process representation in Linux. We can skip this part. Process scheduling. Now we are moving towards process scheduling where we will be having some numericals also. So process scheduling means if you are having so many different tasks inside the system, then how you are going to schedule them? Schedule means you are making an order in which the different processes are going to be executed. If there are 10 processes like P0 to P9, then which process is going to be executed first, then which process is going to be executed second, then the third. It may be possible that P9 is running in the very start because of its priority. It is very prior with respect to other process. So we will run this process first. So there are so many different types of scheduling algorithms that will decide which particular process is going to be executed first, or you are going to manage the different schedules out of these processes. Process scheduler selects among available processes for next execution of CPU core. Which process is going to be executed next is to be selected by the process scheduler. Then goal. Our goal is to maximize CPU uses. Quickly switch processes onto CPU core. Actually, we want to maximize our CPUs. Suppose your processor is running and your system is having enough number of tasks. Like there are so many tasks already in the system. So we want to use this processor maximum. We don't want this processor to be free for some time. We want, if we are having so many processes, Then one after another process will come to this processor and will execute itself. Maintain scheduling queues of processes. For scheduler, there should be some different kind of queues also, because any process can have to wait. Then what are these queues? Now first we need to consider these queues. What are the different types of queues? Then we are putting the status of the particular process in that queue. Ready queue. In a system, there may be so many tasks at a time that are ready, but we cannot assign all of them the processor because we are having only a single processor system. So we cannot assign processor to everyone. One process will be executing with the help of CPU or processor. All other will be considered to be sit silently in the ready queue. Set of all processes residing in main memory, ready and waiting to execute. These processes will be ready for execution. These may not require any kind of user intervention or any kind of IO system. These are completely ready for execution. That's why we are keeping in ready queue. Then the wait queue. Wait queue means set of processes that are waiting for some event to occur or waiting for some IO devices. These processes are waiting for some kind of IO operation like user input, user output, or any other thing. Processes migrate among the various queues. So there will be so many queues inside the system. Importantly, we can say ready and wait queue. So process will be migrating from different queues. Sometime process will be in waiting queue. Some after some time that process will be in ready queue. So process will be changing their state again and again. Now these are ready and wait queues. First, I think you should have the idea that what queue does. Queue means it will be maintaining the order. If three processes are coming, P1 first, then P2 is coming, then P3 is coming. So queue will be managed in such a way that the process that arrived first will be going to the execute first. First come, first serve. Now, how your waiting queues are managed? So it will be a queue header. We are talking about ready queue. So suppose process 7, P7 wants some is ready for execution. Process 7 is ready for execution. That is PCB7, process control block of 7, 7th process will be attached to this ready queue. Suppose some other process like PCB2 is also ready for execution, then PCB2 will be again placed here in the ready queue. So PC7 came first, so we will run this process first, then we will run this process next time after PCB7. So we should be maintaining a queue like this inside the system. Then waiting queue. Waiting queue means waiting queue may be different for different type of devices, different type of IO devices. So suppose some keyboard is there and three different processes require this keyboard. So we cannot assign this keyboard to all the three processes at a time. So there will be a queue like this, waiting queue. for every type of IO device. For keyboard, there will be separate queue. For printer, there will be separate queue. For monitor, there will be separate queue. So there will be different queues. So one queue we are showing here. PCB3 is waiting for this. PCB14 is waiting for this. PCB6 is also waiting for this particular IO device. The representation of process scheduling. Now we can say it's a queuing diagram. Queuing, queuing diagram. Or you can say how process is changing their state with respect to queue. Process is changing their state, one queue to another, second queue to third one, and so on. So this will be a queuing diagram. First, we are having a ready queue. All the processes, those who want to run, those who want to execute, will be coming to this ready queue. After this ready queue, there will be so many processes. One of them will be going to the CPU. That means for execution. All other will be stopped here in the ready queue. While running with the help of CPU, there may be different cases. That particular process completes its execution, so it will be exited. It will be executed with this arrow. Or there are four different uh, interrupts that may arrive. So your process is running. It may require some kind of IO. So it will be placing some IO request. Maybe its time slice has expired. Time slice means whatever time we are giving to each processes is completed for this process. We cannot run this process from start to end at a stretch. We should be able to manage all the other processes in that system. Suppose we are having 5 different processes, then we may say that only 10 milliseconds we will assign to every process in order. 10 milliseconds will be running, will this first process will be running, then the next 10 milliseconds second process will be running, third millisecond 30 next third 10 second 10 millisecond third process will be running. So this will be called the time slice, whatever you are giving to a particular type of process. Maybe its time slice is expired. It is creating some child process. It is creating this process, whatever is running, is creating some more processes inside the system. So if it is creating some more processes, some sub processes like a function call, you can say, so it will be stopped at that time, or it may require some interrupt. It may require some kind of input from the user. That is also the case. So these are the 4 different scenarios where a process will be stopped from running. So what next? If it is performing some IO request, that means it requires some kind of IO, that then it will be placed in the IO waiting queue. Like we have discussed in the last slide, that we may have different kind of IO devices. For every IO device, there will be a separate IO waiting queue. If 10 different processes are requiring same kind of IO, then all those 10 processes will be waiting in that IO waiting queue. So when the IO will be given to that particular process. After IO completion, again it will be placed to the ready queue. Now this process is again ready for further execution. If the time slice has expired, means it has completed 10 milliseconds, whatever we have given for execution, then it does not require anything. It will be directly placed to the ready queue, that this process is already ready. Just because of time slice expired, that's why we remove this process from the CPU. If it is creating some function call, if it is creating some kind of function call, then child termination wait queue, so it will be waiting for its child to terminate. Suppose you are calling a function inside a process. Until that uh, function will complete, you cannot say that your process is going to be executed. So when your child process, whatever you have created, is completed, then only you will be forwarded to the ready queue. Or if this process is waiting for an interrupt, some kind of interrupt it requires, then it will be going to the interrupt wait queue. Then that interrupt will be coming inside the system. After getting that interrupt, it will be going for the ready queue again. So this is the flow of a process, how a process is going through the different queues inside the system. CPU switch from process to process. How your CPU is switching between different processes. A context switch occurs when the CPU switches from one process to another. Suppose there are so many processes inside the system, and you want to manage all those processes to be running parallelly with a single processor system. So you should be switching your processes throughout the time. Currently P1 is executing, after some time P2 will be executing, and you will be removing this P1 from CPU. After some time P3 will be executing, at this time you will be removing this P2 from CPU. So this removal and insertion of a new process is known as a context switch. Okay, context switch takes some time for doing this, for removing a process and for inserting a new process. So this is your process P naught. We can say this is the time interval, from here it is starting, from here it is ending. Then this is process number P1, from here it is starting, from here it is ending. Process P1 and P naught, they are two processes. This is your operating system interrupt process. Now process P0 comes, is running. Process P0 is running at this time. Now some interrupt is coming. Some interrupt time slice has expired for this process. Then what you are doing is you are saving the current state of this process 0, saving state into PCB 0. Then you will be taking some time for saving the state. Then you are reloading state from PCB 1. You are reloading the current state of this process. Then this process will be running. Then again some interrupt is coming, or the time slice has expired. Then at this time you are again saving the state of PCB1. You are saving it. It will take some time. After taking time, again you will be asking the current state of PCB0. Then you will be reloading the state of PCB1. Then again it will be executing. So at a time, either process P0 will be running or process P1 will be running, and some particular time will be there which will be idle. This time is called as context switch time. Context switch, because it is wastage. We cannot utilize this time for further processing, because in this time you are saving the current state of a process. Then the context switch. What do you mean by context switch? When CPU switches to another process, the system must save the state of the old process and load the saved state for the new process via a context switch. Context of a process is represented in the PCB. Context switch time is pure overhead. It's complete waste. The system does no useful work while switching. The more complex the OS and the PCB, the longer the context switch. So whenever we are talking about context switch, it is a time. Time for taking another process to the CPU. Time dependent on hardware support. Some hardware provides multiple sets of registers per CPU, multiple contexts loaded at once.